night, good night, good night. How is everyone? Hi Christian, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Let me know when you're here, where you're from. How is everybody? Say hello when you're here. We're going to start off with a more serious chat and then we're going to finish off with a more light-hearted chat. As this month is a very important month. So please do stop by and say hello. Hi Tara Gallagher. How are you? I apologise if I mispronounce people's names or I miss them. I'm blind and I rely on text-to-speech. Hi Wendy. How are you? Where's everybody from? Hi Sarah. Hi Olivia. Well, thank you. You too. Whereabouts are you from? Hi Athena95. WA, Australia, because that's where I'm from. Hey Ashley. Hey, hey. Hey, blah. Hey, spend love. The boys, oh, they're sound asleep next to me. Don't want to know me. They're too busy sleeping. They've kept me up for hours. And now that I'm up and I decide to go live and have a bit of a chat, start with a bit of a more serious chat and then finish with a light-hearted chat, they've decided to go to sleep. So you may hear some snoring soon. The choir shall start. How are yours? Oh yeah, what happened? Can I ask how your ear was? Oh, you got an ear infection, you're on meds and drops. Oh, ouchies. Ouchies. Our unicorn joined. Hello, hello. Hey, chosen one. I have pugs. So I don't have like anyone knocked out next to me or anything like that. There's nothing bad going on. It's just two pugs that snore, and for most of the people who actually are regular watchers, they've actually named them the choir. So yes. Hi, is that meant to be Splice? I'm sorry, I'm blind and I get text to voice, so I do apologise if I absolutely butcher your name. Hi, Margot. Oh, cool. Got it right. Sweet. Hi, Mima. So in a few minutes, I'm going to start having an awareness chat, and then we're going to have her follow up. And it's just a quick awareness chat, and it's then a follow up by one of our laughing chats. So I'm just going to give everyone a trigger warning that we will be talking about unaliving prevention. Self-unaliving prevention. Unfortunately, I can't say the name, otherwise I kind of get booted from TikTok. Oh, thank you, Ashley. We love it when you come on. Hi, Demandy. Hi, Samar. Hi, oh, look. It's Alan. Hi, Kim Marie. How many tattoos do I have? Oh my gosh. I actually can't count, because I eventually ended up getting them all meshed into like full sleeves, full chest pieces, legs. So I don't know how many I've got done. And I've got them all wrapped around from my ears, around the back of my neck, and then up through the back behind the ears as well. So to be honest with you, I don't know. Plus I've got the hands done on both hands. So yeah, thank you. Sorry everyone, I'm blind. I go from text to voice, so sometimes I can't keep up, especially when there's a whole heap of people that come through at the same time. So unfortunately I can't say hello to everybody at the moment at the same time. All I can do is say welcome, welcome. I love tattoos. I've actually got 2 more on the waiting list. So hi Talia, hi Coco. Okay, I'll send me a message, Ashley. And if anybody could be generous enough to go on the gifts and gift a heart me, that would really help go towards helping support the people that we look after on this page, which is people with chronic illnesses, invisible disabilities and disabilities, plus their support people and loved ones. Just to try to break down stigmas, raise awareness, share their journeys. And they also request that I do deep dives, so I can do awareness posts on their conditions, which a lot of them are actually rare conditions. So I do that as well. So, and I do also have a subreddit, and we do Q&A sessions. So if anyone could be generous enough to donate a heart me gift, that would be so absolutely wonderful. And there's also some other ones that you click on where they're called wishes, and you click on it, say a rose, and I will have to say something in basically in return to it. And I do really appreciate all the love that everybody's been sending and shares as well. It all helps. We need as much support as we can get. So thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome, Shannon. Okay, Ashley, I'll read it after the live, doll. Okay, so I'm going to get into it because I figure if I get into it now, basically we can do the serious talk now, because this talk has to be had. I really believe this talk has to be had. And then we'll follow it up with just a normal conversation. So trigger warning starting now. There is going to be talk about self-unaliving, okay, and mental health. So the best way that I thought that maybe I could spread awareness is to share my own journey. So my journey, I have a history of attempted self-unaliving, and I've also recently just had a stay at a mental health hospital as well, that I requested to go to because I could feel that my mental health was severely in need of help. So, you know, I've also previously worked as a suicide crisis support worker and a mental health support worker. A mental health and disability support worker. So I've been in those fields a lot, and it's hard. And what people don't see is, oh, thank you. It's all natural, except for the colour. So what people don't see is that with suicide, with unaliving, at that very point in time, all that person can see is that as an option. So it's not that they're being a coward or trying to take the easy way out. It's just that that person has got to the point. Yeah, I said the word, and now being restricted. So yes, we've now been restricted. So essentially, the person has gone through so much that there's literally no other option in their eyes. That they can't do anything. They can't turn to anyone. There's no help available for them. The system won't help them. This is the kind of stuff that they go through, and this is the kind of stuff I went through. And I got to one day where I was having a really nasty fight with my ex-husband, who was an alcoholic, and I ended up attempting to unalive myself. I ended up calling for help. Sorry, all sorts of things going on here. I'll go through that with you in a sec. So yeah, I ended up ringing for help, and I got it because he drove off. So yeah, but ways that's a really good question. How can you help someone who is going through that? Is listening. It's like sitting in the dark with them, just letting them know that you're sitting with them, letting them know that they're not alone, having that conversation with them about, there is nothing wrong with asking somebody if they've had thoughts of harming themselves in any way. And if they have, they're not going, that you could ask them if you could make a call for some help, to get them some help. Likely chance is they're going to say no. Either way, make that call to emergency services to do our welfare check and explain the situation. There's no set way to have that conversation. It is really difficult. It depends on the circumstances. But it's basically sit with them, just ask them, are they okay? You can talk to me, let me know what's going on. Make sure that you reassure them that conversation stays confidential. The only other person that you may share that with is emergency services. So they really need to make sure that what they say to you stays with you. And just, reassuring them that, there is still hope, but not telling them that they're wrong, because in the moment that they're in, they can't be told that they're wrong because they can't see any other way. They literally cannot see any other way. So it's just about, gauging, how bad it is and asking them the question. There literally is no harm in asking them, are you thinking about unaliving yourself? Are you thinking about SHing? This is making it so comfortable not being able to say the words. It's so uncomfortable to me because working in those fields, I'm used to just flat out asking those questions. And that's what we did. We flat out asked those questions. So there is literally nothing wrong with it. Is there any other questions that you'd like to know? Other things are to check, you might want to check on friends who are starting to isolate themselves, remove themselves from situations they'd usually join in on with you, and things like that, and just check in and ask them if they're okay, just so they know that people do care and people have noticed that they've stepped back and they've isolated themselves, and do a welfare check-in with them and have that chat with them. That's another option as well. And 9 times out of 10, when you ask them if you can call emergency surgeries, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. And chances are they're going to hang up the phone. So during the conversation, if you can try and get any information of where they are, that would help as well, because when you ring to do a welfare check, it takes longer if they don't have the location, because they have to trace the mobile number. So it can take them a really, really, really long time. It really is a super complicated situation. There is no right or wrong way to do it. The fact that you care enough to want to help is huge. There is no right or wrong way. If you have a friend that you are concerned about with their mental health, open up the dialogue. Because either way, they're going to react to it in a way that you are not going to expect, and that you potentially are not going to like. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, they're going to hang up on you at some point because they don't want the help. Because, like I said, they see this as the only option. And then they see it as somebody's trying to take that last option away from them. And then they don't have any choices. So I know it's tough. It's really hard when you're in that situation. Really hard. But just opening that dialogue with them is worth it, because in the end, once they've got some help, they know that you were there for them. You noticed what was going on. You took the time to sit with them in the dark, because that's what they're doing. They're sitting in the dark and all they can see is the end. So sitting in the dark with them and just opening that dialogue and listening, don't give advice, just listen. And like I said, and then just open the dialogue, ask the questions. So yeah, it is really complicated. And it's different for everyone. Well, that's one of the reasons. There are other reasons like untreated mental health. Untreated mental health is a big thing, as well as self-medicating with substances, etc. I have to be so careful what I say on here. I don't know how to say it. Sorry. Self-medicating and ending up putting themselves into a psychosis, and a shrug diagnosis, psychosis. Sorry, that's the best way I can say that word is shrug, because it rhymes. A shrug psychosis is absolutely nasty and cruel. So that's another thing. So like I said, untreated mental illness, there's psychosis, there's also things like financial breakdown in financial situations like bankruptcy, relationship breakups, and also custody issues. There are so many reasons, and unfortunately, yes, you're right in one sense that focus does help, but that's usually part of the treatment afterwards, is to work on focusing and getting purpose again. So there are so many reasons that they feel that they need to do that I can't even list them all. So yeah, I've heard so many different ones. Another one, sexuality. Yeah, it's huge. Sometimes it's also fear from a conspiracy theory. It's really difficult to gauge. Is there any other questions I can help with? How do you know the difference between someone going through a hard time and someone going through depression? That's a really good question. Really good question. So depression, and this is not medical advice because I'm not a medical practitioner. This is just what I learned from my training from back in my mental health days. So depression itself is a chemical imbalance within the brain. So that needs to be corrected with medication to get the chemical imbalance to be corrected again, and sometimes it also needs therapy to work along with it, because usually the two kind of work a lot better together. So yeah, and then somebody going through a hard time is they're actually in a situation. So it doesn't have anything to do with the body going through chemical change imbalances within the brain itself. It's a situation that they're in, and the situation can be changed or manipulated to end up in a different situation, if that makes sense. So being able to tell the difference, I suppose, it's very hard to tell, but usually when somebody's going through a hard time, it comes on very suddenly because it's from a situation. It's not a chemical imbalance, it's from the situation. So it usually comes on really quickly, and they're usually really hyperfixated on the situation that they're in and how to fix it, how to get out of it. So it does come on very suddenly, whereas depression, of what I've noticed myself, and like I said, I'm not a medical practitioner, this is just from my training previously, I'm not a doctor or a nurse, is depression you notice over time as it gets worse until treatment is started, and even then it takes time for medication to start working. So for depression, medication can take 6 to 8 weeks to start working, and then also working alongside with a therapist as well to help. Whereas if it's somebody going through a hard time, it usually comes on suddenly. Then there's hyperfixation on that issue, and stress and panic about how to get through it. And usually some therapy will help because they'll be able to get some coping mechanisms and maybe kind of slow everything down and have a look at ways to get through that situation, if that makes sense. Oh, you come from a culture where everything's treated as a hard time. Oh no, that's really sad. Okay, so it's well known for self-medicating, right? Yeah, a lot. Depression is starting to become less taboo. People are more open talking about depression. It's still hard for people to talk about things like borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder. You quite alright there, dude? You stuck. Sorry about that. Yeah, so there still is, you know, a lot of taboo topics with mental health. Luckily, like I said, in a lot of cultures now, depression is becoming more accepted. So hopefully it won't be much longer before other mental health conditions become more accepted and less taboo. You know, I've heard people, yeah, it is. I've heard people who have talked about depression, you know, even within the hospital setting itself. And in a mental health setting, you get all sorts of people with all sorts of disorders, etc. And you know, everyone talks about what's going on in their lives and why they're there. And if it's something like depression or something like that, then everyone's like, oh, okay, no worries. I was in there for borderline personality disorder. Well, a little sub part of borderline personality disorder, because borderline personality disorder is now the umbrella, and then they're now doing come on, mister. Sorry, guys. They're now doing like little sub. Quite alright. Little sub areas of borderline personality disorder that kind of separate them all. So when you're talking to doctors and other people, they know more specifically what type of bipolar what type of borderline personality disorder you have, rather than using the large broad spectrum umbrella. So for me, I have emotionally, and this name, I hate it, emotionally unstable personality disorder, impulsive type. And so to me, that name has just taken mental health back a century. Like, you know, it just reminds me of them calling, you know, calling things female hysteria and putting women away for female hysteria. So, yeah, it's hopefully going to be less taboo. Hopefully they're going to start changing the names of some of these disorders. You know, it's the same, you know, and when I tell people what my disorder was, they'd be like, I wouldn't be able to put, they're literally, I got told I wouldn't be able to put up with you. You know, and the same response to people in there who were really, really manic with bipolar disorder. They get the same response from people, I wouldn't be able to put up with you. You know, and if they had guests come in, you know, they get really annoyed with people who were manic, or they get annoyed with me because I'm emotionally unstable. I don't get manic. I go through multiple moods, and I can go through multiple moods very quickly, or I could end up being absolutely miserable and crying for 2 days straight. I can get angry very quickly. It just depends. So yeah. So it's really, really hard. So it would just be nice for mental health as a whole to become less taboo. So it doesn't matter whether you've got depression, whether you've got anxiety, whether you've got bipolar disorder, whether you've got borderline personality disorder. You know, whether you've got PTSD or oppositional sorry, I just lost that one. I have memory issues, sorry. I think it's oppositional defiance disorder, ODD. You know, things like that. It would be nice for mental health as a whole to be more understood. And yes, it is. Mental health awareness is getting better, but, and there is always a but. And you're right, that big word. I have to be careful how I word that because I don't want people think I'm talking about body parts. I am. You know, it's getting better, but it has a whole lot longer to go. And it also depends on the generation as well. So the older generations, they don't want to talk about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. It gets hush-hushed, you know. No one's allowed to know. As you get to the younger generations, I'm not playing catch with you, dude. I'm doing a video. Sorry, everyone. My pugs are on and off awake and wanting to play. Yeah, it really depends on the generation as well. The younger generations are more understanding and it's less of a taboo, whereas the older generations, it's a lot worse. It is, and I don't know whether you've noticed, but if you ever see a news article about someone doing something to a family member or something like that, you see everybody in the comments underneath it arguing, and you know, because somebody has used mental health issues as a reason, and then the argument starts from there because some people just try to use mental illness as an excuse, and quite often that's what they do. And then they go, when it comes to going through the justice system, they do go and speak to very well trained forensic psychiatrists, and 9 times out of 10 they don't have a mental illness. So yeah, and that's what makes it harder as well for those who are suffering with a mental illness, is when you have people who take it and glorify it, you know, and it does make a huge difference with the way that people see mental illness. Is the moment somebody who actually has mental illness, people don't believe them, or they don't take it seriously because it's been so misused that people just don't use it anymore. People just don't use the information anymore. Any awareness that they had of the mental illness and any acceptance that they had kind of goes out the window for a while, and they do start to get that attitude of, oh, everyone just uses mental illness as an excuse. Like, I've heard that so many times, is mental illness is just an excuse. And this is where we need to break down that stigma and, you know, remove the taboo from it, and, you know, get the information out there so people can understand it properly, so things like that don't happen. So it is very complicated. It's sad because the people who are truly going through it, which are ones who are affected. Yeah, it's so true. It's really true. I got told by one person when I was in hospital just to take a happy pill and suck it up and go home. And that just like set me back even more. Because, you know, and that was from somebody who was from a generation older from me. I'm 40 years old. And so this is somebody who was from an older age than me and really doesn't understand or want anything to do with mental health. Rung once just to see what the go was. Basically said, we'll take a happy pill, get over it, go get your ass home, and haven't heard from them since. So the people who are truly going through it, they aren't taken seriously because of all the people who have glorified mental illness. Or for those who, and it's not necessarily just because of people who've glorified mental illness, it's also because of the lack of interest that people have in wanting to learn it to be able to support the people around them who actually have a mental illness. So it kind of goes both ways. So yeah, and I think out of the two, I think the second one is probably worse, is when they're not interested enough to want to even learn. So yeah, at least somebody who, you know, has been through a situation where they've been in a conversation where somebody's glorified mental illness, they can still be informed about, okay, well, you've had this conversation about, you know, this mental illness and this situation, and potentially this happened. However, how about we reverse it just for a little while and just have a conversation on it, you know, and just have a little bit of a healthy debate, or not even a debate as such, or just a healthy chat for both sides, and then see how you feel about it afterwards. So yeah, so there is a very big difference between the two as to whether they're interested in actually learning about it, or if there's a potential for them to learn about it, or to those who flat out don't care. So yeah, can you come here please? I'm not playing games with you. Excuse you, you're saying hello to everyone. That's the very clear, that very reason, the clear line between older and younger generations, but the older generation weren't actually just getting over it, they were self-medicating. Exactly right. They don't acknowledge mental health because it's a hush-hush. They don't acknowledge that it's something they can actually get help with. It's it's something they believe that they can self-medicate. And unfortunately, self-medicating in the long term leads to more issues with mental health. Like I said, there is drug-induced psychosis, and for anyone who's come in, I have already been restricted twice because I can't say certain words, which is absolutely ridiculous, because it is what it is. And it's an awareness video, simple as that. But yeah, they self-medicate, and then they end up getting problems like cirrhosis of the liver, they end up kidney issues, heart issues, the list goes on. They end up with voices. I myself have autoimmune induced psychosis. 24 hours a day there is literally voices going on, hence why I'm wearing headphones, because they just help dull it a little bit. And I thought mine was bad enough, and drug-induced psychosis is so much worse. And unfortunately, it is so common to have for those who are self-medicating. And they don't see as well that people kind of notice that they're self-medicating. So, isn't it quite alright? I see you want to go to sleep now, but I wasn't allowed to earlier. Okay. Oh, thank you for following, Snowbug Love. They do. I've actually got another one next to me, and so if you hear noises in the background, it's these two snorting or snoring. And if anyone is available to, and I don't usually ask this of anyone, but in the gifts there's a heart me for 1 coin, if it's possible for anybody, even just one person, to be able to select to gift one heart me gift. That would be absolutely amazing. We are trying so hard to raise more information. The Spoony Life and Beyond. I'm Dotty, by the way, and this is my channel, the Spoony Life and Beyond, and it is for raising awareness, for advocating for sharing journeys, doing deep dives for people who've requested for people to learn about their conditions, and quite often they're rare conditions, their loved ones, and support people. And that's for people with chronic illnesses, invisible disabilities, which includes mental health and disabilities. So that's what I do. I'll be starting to get back into the twice a week, because I've got a nice long list starting again of doing the deep dive awareness posts twice a week, and then once a week doing a live Q&A session of people who in the community have asked questions that they would like our takes on as to what we would possibly do in that situation, and then I'll upload it so people can also answer it in the comments, and that person can also have that to refer back to, basically. Are you quite alright back there? So yes, we keep very very busy. And then also if you go to the bio, there's a link tree link there. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the motorcycle. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I believe it is your first gift that you've ever sent. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. So yeah, if you go to the bio, go to the link tree, click on that. In there is the Discord, and there's a Patreon as well. In the Discord, you don't have to wait for me to go live to talk. You can go in there and send a message at any time. We can have video chats. We can have voice calls. There's so many options. So yeah, definitely jump in there. So bio, Linktree link, Discord, and Patreon. And yeah, we will always be there to have a chat. I'm always open, apart from when I'm sleeping. I always have that open on my phone, so if anyone wants to chat, I'm available to chat. I spend a lot of my time trying to help the community. Even if you're not in the community and you want to join because maybe you have a little bit of empathy, you know, a little bit of compassion, and you know, you have that little bit of time where you can join, because sometimes people come on and say, look, I'm having a bit of a hard time with something, is there anyone I can talk to? Maybe you can put your hand up and say, yeah, I've got time. You know, it all helps. It all helps. Because unfortunately, you know, people with chronic illnesses, invisible disabilities and disabilities, and a lot of them are very rare disorders, so people haven't heard of them. There isn't support out there. There is very, very little and limited support out there, which then also leads to mental health issues as well. So yes. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for joining the chat. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the questions you've asked as well. And just having that chit chat with me as well. It's been really good to talk to you. Thank you for the gift also. And I hope you join and follow. And so we can have a chat again. And I hope you join the Discord as well. So thank you. You have a good night or day, depending on where you are. Oh, thank you for following. You're an angel. Thank you. There's quite a few people coming through. Hi, Country Gal. Hi, Maddie Glenn. How is everyone? Hi, Gloria. I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's names or I miss your name. I'm blind and I rely on text-to-speech, so I do apologize. Hi, Keisha. How is everyone? Who's around at the moment? Where are you from? wonder when these restrictions are going to come on. I got given 2 restrictions for talking about what prevention month this is, and just for saying what prevention month it is, I got restricted twice. So I have no idea. I have no idea. It seems that it's slowing down and I'm restricted. I'll probably end the live here. But for those who joined and also, you know, joined in the conversation, thank you so much. It was really good to talk about that dialogue, I think it was really important, so thank you, and we'll be chatting more about it throughout the month, and I'm sure that I will be getting restricted again at some point. So yeah, so for now I'll log off because I'm too restricted to really doing anything. So thank you for everyone who has joined and spent time with me. I shall see you in the next live, so please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next live tomorrow. Bye. Mwah.